Is this a dream? Is this actually real? Am I actually back on this channel after a very long period? Yes, I am back on this channel. Don't know if that means I'm gonna get back into doing reviews, but I will gradually, here and there, put videos up on this channel of me just talking about music. After, was it the last video I did post was me promoting my other channel, which was going to be more focused on my hunting, whatever, for comic books. So for here, I'm basically back in the groove. In a way, it was perfect. It had to happen. I had to kind of take a break, and everyone knows we go through that. There really shouldn't be any, explanation. It happens. Sometimes we all go through burnouts. But, hey, at least I'm back. And I'm still going to be doing the other channel, but here I'll eventually get around to talking to more music. So, without further ado, let's get into what's playing in the background. Well, since being back up here, in Susanville, the shop that is in town normally does video games, comic books, but they have gone back to doing records like they used to in the beginning, but what they used to get for records and was mostly stuff you get at, let's say, any Goodwill. This time when they got back to selling records, they finally got some pretty good records in. And this one I had been eyeing on. I got this back in July when they were doing a sale. And so I was able to get this record for a lot cheaper than what they were selling for. So what's playing in the background is an album that I've been always would see a lot. At least I would hear a lot of people on the VC talk about this album. I had at least a buddy or a friend. I don't really talk to him very much. I mean, I don't chat with him. Actually, I shouldn't be talking. I should just be chatting. Because there's a difference between chatting back and forth on, like, let's say, a messenger or a full, what would it be like, like a chat room. There's a difference between chatting and talking. Talking would be like if I'm actually talking to him on the phone or in person. I haven't really met him in person, but again, the guy that would go by Painkiller for the forums, like Force of Steel. He's the one that had turned me on to this record, and when I got into the VC, I would see, I think, Greeno, who just came back on the VC, did a very short video talking about with Sleepy Hollow. I remember him talking about this record too, and I think even Harmless Rebel. But it is this album from Rail, which is Arrival. They finally actually had this at the shop, and they were selling it for $15, but back in July, when the shop, which I normally get my comic books from, they were doing a special, like, 4th of July sale, and so I forgot it was like either 30 or 50% off. It could have been to 30% or 23% off. Either way, I got it for a lot less than what it was being sold. For like, 15, so it would have been like close to $10. So it might be like 23 off. Maybe 23% off, whatever. So it was a lot cheaper than that. So that's pretty good. And so I was like, alright, this is my chance to finally pick this album up and actually listen to it. And honestly, this is what in a while, in a few months, since I've at least spun this record. But to me, I would say this, because this has been like 1980. This definitely is a hard rock album, but compared to a lot of the contemporaries in this sort of genre, which is kind of like, it wants to border on being kind of like AOR or whatever, but it's so much harder, and there's in a way an underlining sort of metal thing going on with the album. It would say maybe proto-metal, but it's so much crunchier, and it's so much at least heavier. It's one of the more lighter songs, but it starts off fairly heavy. So I can't really say there's anything. It's one of those bands that really kind of clicked with me from the beginning. Probably because, again, the mood for me was the right time, and right now it is still kind of doing it. So eventually they would put out a couple more records after this, and what I've at least snippeted those are also not too bad. Those definitely are very more in like the 80s hard rock stuff. This one definitely has, it's like a heavier sort of 70s sort of thing. And it is still pretty dang good. It's just that it's again, the way I can describe it, instead of being like a less, or something like, let's say, would you say a hard Styx, it's more like a hard Triumph. Like a lot of the earlier Triumph stuff, but yet somehow much more crunchier and a little more harder edge. And is not super kind of low-key. See, now this one's definitely a fairly heavy number right here. But so it's like I'm really digging the hell out of this record. I've been digging it for months now, but I decided it would be a perfect sort of record to kind of start basically my return to this channel. Start off with at least something fairly cool. I don't know if I can say fairly cool, but it's like if you really think it's cool, that is great. Me, I definitely do think, but there's probably a few others out there that probably wouldn't find this. But it's very much a fun record, and if you're in the mood for this type of sort of almost kind of hokey but still fairly played hard and fairly heavy sort of pompy hard rock, this is, I would say, is a pretty good one to look for. I know nowadays some records are starting to kind of go up in price, but I think you can, if you're able to find this for $15, that means you're probably going to find it somewhere else for a lot lesser than $15. I was able to get it for 10 due to the sale that they had at the shop here in town back in July. So either way, it wasn't too bad. And you know what? Even at that price, I might be a little bit overpaying for what this is, but for me, if I can enjoy a good $10 record, then you can be able to enjoy it as even lower, you know. There you go. So there you go. Just kicking off with a record like that. And eventually I'm going to have to flip this record over. So, speaking of another record, I finally got around to spinning this one yesterday. And I've had it for weeks now, and of course I wouldn't say weeks. I had it for at least close to 2 months now. I've had it for 2 months, and I never listened to it at the time when I got in the mail, but I wanted to kind of give it some time, let it sit out, let the sort of the conversation for the sound, let it die down a bit. And so I wanted to do that. I haven't really been listening to a lot of newer stuff. I've really been toned down a lot on the newer stuff. And there, I don't want to try and make it too much about politics or whatever, but right now, with the whole tariff situation, it has also kept me from really, from day one, getting new stuff. Like, for example, the new Bullet. They put out Kickstarter. It's not like almost close to a $30 in CD format due to the shipping and for it being $20. We're getting close to $30, and it's really kind of hurt me. It's the whole tariff thing freaking hurt me really bad in that regard. And so I'm going to have to kind of weed it out for a bit when it comes to newer stuff that are from overseas. So it is what it is. But this one, so I haven't been really listening to a lot of newer stuff. But this one came in, and finally, obviously, the first side just stopped. So I'm going to do a little jump cut for you. I'm going to do a bit of a jump cut where I will come back and it will be playing on the second side. So let's see if I can do this. And, alright, I am back. So, as you can tell, it's playing on the second A side. See, check this one. Again, it's pretty decent. I mean, it's not super heavy, but it's about, I think, there's eventually it's going to start speeding up a little bit. See what I'm talking about? The sort of underlining kind of metal thing that's going on within there. Again, this is 1980, so it's kind of, it's really firmly planted in that sort of early 80s sort of, again, quasi-metal there. But it's still firmly hard rock, but like, again... Alright, so I'm about to talk about this other record. So again, this is more of a brand new album, but this one had some controversy for it being a comeback record. So again, I had it for at least a couple months now, and I waited until yesterday to actually be like, alright, perfect time to kind of listen to it. And so this is kind of what became the idea why I wanted to get in front of the camera to come back and talk about. Because this one actually kind of surprised me. But it's the new Dark Angel, at least the most recent Dark Angel. This would have been released around September, but for all of us who probably had ordered or whatever, pre-ordered this album, it obviously had a tough time getting shipped out, and it wouldn't be shipped out until like pretty much the end of October to the beginning of November. So if I was able to get it in, and I waited for at least a couple months before to really, sit down and listen to it. And so I eventually did. I did it while reading a Spawn comic, one of our newer issues. And so I did that. And you know what? I gotta be really honest. I know a lot of people were really giving this record some criticism. And there's definitely some glare on there. Let me see if I can take it out real quick so it's not super glary. So there we go. So I had been seeing a lot of people were criticizing the sound, especially for mostly the vocals of Ron Reinhard. And I had heard that. I think I recall listening to a snippet of one of the songs when they were, released in the singles on YouTube. And at the time, okay, it wasn't so much. But we all know how that happens. Sometimes your first impression, let's say digitally, isn't always going to be the best impression. And so this became that thing. And so I put it on, finally listened to it, and I just was like... I don't really see too much of a problem with this album. I might be one of those who actually does not think his vocals are that terrible on here. Yes, there's some differences, but there's been a lot of other guys, older singers, let's say Bruce Dickinson. He's struggling at times to sing these days, but not a whole lot of people tend to give him crap for it, but apparently Ron Reinhard, who I've been doing it for so long, apparently is getting a lot of the bad criticism. It's like, it's so weird when it comes to that. But it still sounds like Ron Reinhard. Yes, he's got a little bit more deeper voice at times, but at times it reminds me a little bit of Chuck Billy's kind of pseudo-death metal approach that he had during the 90s. So it's like more so reminds me of that than less of, oh yeah, he has really lost his voice. Everyone goes through that. But musically, it still sounds like Dark Angel to me, so it's a little bit modern. However, there is something about the mix, or at least listening to it on my Audio-Technica record player here, which is, it's actually a Victrola, but it does have an Audio-Technica cartridge, and through this stereo or speakers, I'm kind of playing it through more of weaker sort of speakers, but through my headphones I usually listen to my music through. It sounded good. It sounded good to my ears. Everything sounded fine. There was a little bit of a warmth to it. It really gave a digital sounding album more of a warmer texture, and it actually made it the listening experience so much better. And I'm kind of like gobsmacked. I mean, they do cut a couple songs off the album. They cut a couple off. Yeah, it's crazy that on the back cover, there's listing Terror Construct and Extraction Tactics, but those songs are pretty much missing on there. I mean, okay, it says exclusively available for download at reverserecords.com. Okay, so it does claim that. But you know what? Even with the shorter time, like with even that, I can't really find anything wrong. They could have fit the other two. Here's the thing. They could have fit the other two songs onto the record because the album does clock around 49 minutes. There have been records in the past that have at least exceeded 49 minutes. So they could have gotten away with it. Either way, it's a solid album. I dug it. It's not the greatest thing in the world, but it's far from the worst. It's not even the worst comeback album. So I'm definitely digging this one, and I'm definitely going to play this record more often. I might even play it after this video is done recording, so when it's done, I'll probably end up listening to it again. So there you go. Extinction Level Event. I think it's a great, pretty good dang album from Dark Angel. So far, sadly, I think that record is starting to become a lot more pricier now. It's gone out of print. But you know what? I'm happy to have it. I'm glad to have listened to it. So, there it is. So, let's get into a couple CDs. These are all around Christmas time, so these are also very recent. But these are one of these is definitely brought back some memories, and this is the first time it's been reissued or remastered on CD. But every once in a while, I'll look at Heaven and Hell Records on Bandcamp, and so I saw that they had ended up reissuing this one, which is the Third Stage Alert EP. Definitely a lot of bad glaring right there. So there it is right there. And there is some bonus tracks on here, but one of them is actually, the very last song, Time's Up, is it Time's Up? Yeah. It's actually sung by Jeff Scott Soto, who was also singing for Yngwie Malmsteen, who actually had produced the EP and provided at least an instrumental, sort of acoustic track. It almost kind of seemed like kind of throwaway anyways on the EP, but it is an EP, so it's quick and really is, like straight to the point. So this was just one of those like nostalgia trips because of when I was getting into, or at least newer bands, or at least older bands, but they are somehow new to me. This is one of those ones that really I was turned on to me by my brother back in like 2008. And so this was one of those that just brought back a lot of memories, and I do enjoy this EP. It ain't the greatest thing, but it's enjoyable. So I've got some nostalgia for this one. So what I could say is that definitely in that sort of Alcatraz rainbow, especially 80s rainbow vibe. It's definitely in there, but with a singer who's kind of bordering more on like Graham Bonnet, but yet is a little deeper in tone than, let's say, super vibrato, whatever. So it's really cool. He's got a good. It's definitely a fun EP, even if it isn't like the greatest thing in the world. It's serviceable. So I'm actually happy to now have it because I can never find it anywhere else, and I think it's been kind of getting, I think, pricey here and there these days. But with that Third Stage Alert, I ended up noticing that they had reissued this one, and this had been a curiosity of mine for a long time. Would see it on like Vibration of Doom, and I'd see it in, everywhere else. Once in a while, like what's the Heavy Metal Rarities. So I've known about this one, and they ended up reissuing this one, and they remastered it too, because these were remastered from the actual tapes. We're talking about the Lone album from, or actually they did come back and actually put out a newer record. But it is Child's Play, First Toy. Okay, that should be kind of goofy and known, and that's kind of why I kind of stayed away for such a long time. Normally, I'm always into downloading a lot of obscure metal stuff, but somehow something about Child's Play didn't, like, the name itself kind of scared me away for such a long time, but I would, again, due to Bandcamp, you're able to kind of snippet some songs, you're able to listen to it full. And I decided to put that on, and it was it opens up with what is it? The Learning. I had to literally end up buying this one. I had to buy it. The Learning literally sold me on the album. It is a lot heavier than what the name of the album says it's going to be. I mean, look at even the band photo. There's the guys in the band. It is ridiculous, but dang it, it's a fairly fun. It's glammy, so it goes for glammy touches in some of the lyrics, but it's one of those where it's like it's played way hard and way heavier than what it is. Now, not every song is like The Learning, But it's a serviceable and very, very enjoyable sort of obscure metal record. It does have some glammy touches, but it's not super... So it's like, again, there's a lot of these, what was it, like, Rock Time. But it's a freaking it's a hard song. It's heavy. And it's very played way more masculine than it should be. And so it's like just one of those where these albums that like Metal Theologian talks about, where albums that are glammy but are just played with more conviction than a lot of the corporate stuff. So it is really, really fun. There is an actual vinyl reissue of this one that came out around the same time as Heaven and Hell Records put this out. So that Heaven and Hell Records put it out on CD, but I think another label, a Euro label, ended up putting out on records. So it's been reissued on vinyl, so you don't really have to spend too much money to buy an original, which goes for some crazy money these days still. It still does. But it is an enjoyable album, and I think it's definitely worth checking out. So Child's Play First Toy, a very fun sort of underground 80s, very glammy, heavy album. That's all I could say. I mean, it's not super heavy, but it's a lot heavier than a lot of the corporate glam stuff. So I can only say, it's pretty dang good, and I do enjoy it a lot. So that was obviously a favorite of mine. And so if you're gonna really get a reissue from anything from Heaven and Hell Records, I mean, this is enjoyable, but the Child's Play is like literally the one you probably want to actually go after anyways. It's like, I would definitely recommend First Toy from Child's Play. So don't be scared. This is definitely way more worth it. It is a dang good album from these guys. So I enjoy the hell out of it. So always go for this. Because the Sturge Age Alert was released on Metal Blade back in the day, where that one was so obscure, it was very much independent. So, always, anything even like a black background that looks this obscure, whatever this, it's like, yeah. With that alone, even if with the band name, if you see something that looks like that, at least more out of 10 times, whatever, it's gonna sound way harder and way heavier than what it looks. So it's usually gonna be like it's gonna be the buying point. It's gonna go, yeah, alright, I'll listen to that. So, there you go. That's all I wanted to talk about. It went on for a little long, but you know what? It's worth it. I hope all of you enjoyed, and I'll see you all again here on the channel real soon. So until then, this is Heavy Thrash saying I'm out. I'll see you all later. Take care, everybody.